Hi everybody and welcome to Stop Fighting with Your Partner About Money. 3 keys to have a better relationship around your finances and how to understand what it is that's actually causing the fighting in the first place. My name is Dawn Bennett. I'm a best-selling author and I've been helping people heal for 23 years. Let's jump right into it. First of all, one of the things I see when couples start fighting about money is it's very superficial in a way. You're spending this. You're not making enough here. I am not getting X, Y, Z. You're spending too much in this arena while I'm not allowed to spend this much. There's not enough money for the kids. There's not enough money for something that I value because you're spending money on something that you value. Does any of that sound familiar? Have you ever started fighting about money when there's just a miscommunication about how you're going to spend? That's why it's important to get really clear on what it is that each of you wants and needs around finances and why. And this is the really big key, right? Because you can say, well, I want to spend money on coffee every day because I feel I need it, or I need to buy new clothes for work because I feel like I'm wearing the same thing all the time, or I'm doing these presentations, or I feel better when I go out shopping. And it fills some kind of emotional need for me. So imagine this now instead. You not only set up some kind of budget, which I know is super boring, but look at when you spend outside of that budget, you can give yourself a little bit of permission perhaps, depending upon your cash flow and your agreement with your partner. But when you start spending outside of that budget, when you start looking at that desire, what need is that spending actually filling for you? Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, do you really need that coffee because you're tired? Can you get $1 coffee instead of a $5 coffee? Can you perhaps pre-plan and start bringing coffee with from home? Do you need these new clothes? Do you actually need, what is it filling within yourself? And is there a different way that you can get it? It's really important to understand where our emotional drive around spending is, because one of the things I see over and over and over again is that even when we set ourselves a really strong budget, there's a little part of our brain that says, well, I'm an adult now, I can spend whatever I want. You can't make me stop spending, right? It's like this internal piece of ourselves that's a little bit childish and says you can't make me do that. You can't make me do that. Whether it's actually directed at your partner or internally. And this is not something I just see with money. This is something I see when people work out, when people try to do a new diet, when people try to make big lifestyle changes. There's a little child inside of our brain that says, you can't make me, you can't make me. So how do we shut up that brain? Because have you ever set yourself down and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make this life change, and then it hasn't lasted? So that's why it's really important to understand where that emotional drive is coming for you and for your partner. So you can communicate what are the needs that each other is not able to meet for the other person. That is important to get met. So if you are spending because you're feeling lonely, or your partner is spending because that's what makes them feel special, or because there's not enough time to cook, or because there's not enough whatever it is, there's something lacking often that makes us spend in a way that is not healthy for us or for our relationship. And talk to any financial planner, talk to any financial coach, and they can help you, support you in that process of really identifying what could a budget look like, how it could change, and how could this look like for you and your partner. Because once you start understanding that emotional drive, now you'll be walking through a store, and instead of saying, oh, I really feel like the clothes I have don't really suit my personality, I really feel like I'm wearing the same thing over and over and over again, which may be driven by an internal lack of not feeling confident instead of an actual need for new clothes. Now you can make choices that still feel good for you, and now you can get your confidence instead from that new clothing. You can get your confidence instead of like, look how great I am that I have finally gotten my spending under control. Look how great I am that I've actually learned how to repurpose some of my clothes, that perhaps you spend that money instead hiring a fashion coach or somebody that comes in and helps you redesign your wardrobe and give you different ways to wear things. And maybe you just buy 1 or 2 accessories that give you a whole new feel without actually having to go buy new things. Wouldn't that be great? Imagine being able to just use the stuff that you have and have that give you the same kind of joy and happiness and freedom that maybe buying something new brings you. So understand where those emotions come from. Understand how to get them in different ways. And now granted, sometimes spending is just out of control. Because every time you feel like you're getting ahead, the car breaks down. Or you lose some hours at work, or there's a job change, or tips aren't as good, or the kids need new clothes, or a tax bill comes up that you were unexpecting, or you have to market for your business, or there's something that always comes up. Have you ever felt like you've budgeted or you thought you were really under control of your money and then something comes up unexpected and you're like, how am I going to pay for this now? So that's why it's really important to bring that communication back to your partner. Renegotiate. Here's what we set as a plan, but this is the thing that keeps coming up. How can we navigate through this together? Right? So what perhaps can we cut out? What can we change? Maybe you don't buy some of your favorite food. Maybe you go on a different kind of diet for a while. Maybe you buy something off brand. Maybe you pull something out of savings. Maybe you reallocate some of the money you had for something and set it aside for something that feels more important. Maybe you start working an emergency budget into your everyday fund once the cash flow moves. There are a lot of options that you can have to stop fighting about money. But the biggest key and the biggest thing that I see is that we are actually fighting because of the emotional sensitivity that we feel like our partner is spending more than we are, or they feel like we are spending more than they are in a way that doesn't match our value system. So if I think buying clothes is really great and amazing, but I don't understand how I can spend $100 on a shirt and my partner can spend $100 on coffee, and I'm like, but that's coffee. You shouldn't be spending $100 on coffee. Look at something. I buy something that I wear every day. Where it could be that your partner is looking at that coffee and saying, but this is like my treat. This is my reward for work well done. This is where I do my business meetings. This is where I get my wireless network. This is how I take a break for the day, right? So their value of the coffee is very different than your value of the coffee. And their value of your shirt is very different than your value. So it's really, really important to match up the value system. Understand why each person values something different. Now you can sit down and have an open and honest conversation instead of fighting about you're spending too much money, you're not saving enough money, you're not making enough money, you're not putting enough time in at work. Right? Whatever it is that you're fighting about money, there's a million reasons why couples fight about money. And it impacts everything in your life, as you know, right? It impacts your communication around everything else. It impacts your happiness for the day. It impacts your sex life. It impacts your connection. It impacts everything else in your life. So imagine instead now that you can come to some level of understanding about each other's value system. And you can really sit down and use that as your basis of your budget. Something that makes you feel both good, where all of your needs are still being met, where you can have some kind of creative completion in your desire to get your needs met, in your desire to have what you want, in your desire to stop fighting with each other and build a strong relationship. Because let me tell you, divorce isn't cheap. And if you're having problems clearing the emotions that come from underneath Some people, millions of dollars is not enough because they still don't feel secure, because it's internal. Maybe there wasn't enough food when they were young. Maybe there's a feeling that you're not good enough if you're not in a certain type of house, in a certain type of school, in a certain type of building. Maybe there's a fear that the kids will fail if there's not certain things provided to them. Maybe there's a fear of missing out. So the emotional underpinnings of some of the fights under money need to be cleared. So the way that you do this is you start working with somebody that can help you clear those emotions. Things like doing meditation, doing creative journaling, emotional freedom techniques, life coaching, business coaching, financial coaching, counseling, therapy, helping someone that can find you, helping understand. There's lots of words coming out of my mouth all at the same time. Let's try that one more time. Helping somebody. No. Having somebody help you understand, ask you the right questions to get to the bottom of what the true cause is around money. For you first, and then for your partner. Because we can't always blame it outwards. Because if only your partner is upset about money, you wouldn't be watching this video. So where are you sensitive about money? And take that responsibility and ownership. And once you start clearing that, that changes your emotional ability to communicate now with your partner, with your husband, with your wife, with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend, with your mom, with your dad, with whomever it is about money, with your teenage kid. Now you can start communicating more clearly. You can start using those I statements. You can start really understanding where your wants, your needs, and desires are coming from so you can make shifts. And once you make a shift, I guarantee you the other person in your life is going to make a shift. Because when you're both not playing the same roles that you've always fallen into, it forces things to change. So once again, to recap, number one, I did more than 3 keys, whatever. Take responsibility for your own spending. Communicate around it. Know why you're spending what you're spending. And invite your partner to do the same. Look for the emotional underpinnings underneath. Clear the emotions that prevent you from creating a budget. Hear that voice in your head that's saying, you can't make me, you can't make me. And get that child under control. And really focus on how to get your emotional needs met in ways other than spending. Got it? Pretty simple. It's lots of stuff. It's not in a particular order because they all interact. Right? Your emotional set interacts with how you spend, why you spend, what the fear is, why the fight's coming. All of that's emotion, because otherwise you wouldn't be sensitive to it, and either would your partner. So if you got any value at all out of this video, please go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell button. I'm going to keep talking about better intimacy, less fighting with your partner, and how to become more emotionally clear so you can have the relationship that you want. Once again, I'm Dawn Bennett. Have a lovely day.